Hi, I'm Claudia Edge, and the reason I'm being interviewed today is because I have a story of dying and coming back. And I was having a baby. I was very within days of my due date. And this particular day, I just had this feeling that I needed to go to the hospital, the little funny little costume in the hospital that they have you wear. I noticed some blood drops, and that was unusual for me. And an intern, they finally located an intern, and he summarized by the look of the floor, the amount of blood that I only had about 2 minutes left of blood, that I was dying. And they were telling me I was dying. And I'll also tell your audience at that point in time, nothing hurt. It was really weird to feel okay and to have been so healthy 5 minutes before. And now I'm dying, and I know I'm dying. And the room is starting to get smaller. The roof, the ceiling popped off. I could see stars, and the walls of the room were starting to become liquid and come closer and closer. And I had read many accounts of near-death experiences, and that I heard about a tunnel, that, okay, when you die, you go into a tunnel. And I thought, oh my goodness, these walls are getting closer. I think this must be how the tunnel is formed. So I was very lucid. Because I was not in pain at that time, I was noticing and listening to everything because I didn't know what was happening to me. And the doctors were not, and I don't want to say this disparagingly because they saved my life, and it was a dire situation. Again, 5 minutes. But they weren't talking to me and holding my hand and telling me it's going to be okay. They were just talking to each other. And I heard them say that they did not have a heartbeat they had lost the heartbeat on the baby. And as a mother, you want your child to live. It was my concern that they save my baby. And the only way to do this in such a quick manner, without anesthesia, without even being in an operating room, an aspirin, oxygen, a warm blanket, none of that. They held my arms and legs down and cut me all the way down to get to my baby very quickly. And that's when the pain started. That's when it was very, very painful. And they move organs and things around, trying to get to the baby. And there had just been so much trauma and so much pain that I ended up popping out of my body. It was the most soft little pop. It wasn't scary. That wasn't painful or anything. Yes. So I would say to your audience that, how you die can be painful, but dying itself is not. And it's not scary, and it's not unfamiliar. It is, honestly, it's something that we've done before. And it feels almost like riding a bike, because how you jump on and you go. It just didn't seem like a big thing where I was now floating above my body and going, oh, my poor body, or I worked so hard or whatever. Or, I didn't look at my body as me, because me was okay. Claudia was still okay. I was looking basically down at the suit that I wore to live on Earth. It was my space suit, my Earth suit. It went to the gym, and it loved, macaroni and cheese and all of the wonderful things that a body, but it was just a nice pair of overalls that I was done with. And now I was free. And I started floating through the hospital, and I didn't even go, oh, I'm dead. It just seemed so normal. everything that I was doing, going through a wall. I heard this music, and I wanted to follow the music. And I ended up in a man's room, and he was watching television. It was the MASH music from that show, the MASH. And as I got to the side of his bed, I realized that he didn't see me. And I kind of got in front of him and did a little, and there was nothing. He didn't see me. And that's when I went, oh, I must be dead. And as soon as I had that realization, I popped out of that situation, and I was in complete black. It was so perfectly black, dark. I couldn't see anything. There was no noise. There was no need to hear. I was just in a perfect place that was forever. The vastness of it was hard to speak about. And yet I was curled up in it and swaddled and cradled in this. It was intelligent. It knew me. It knew everything about me, and it loved me. It loved me so much. And I was so perfectly safe and happy in this place of perfect nothingness. It was wonderful. And I could have stayed there forever. I was happy there. But I could hear the nurse calling my name. And I reached for this ear because this seems to be where I was hearing it. And it was itchy and scratchy voice because I was in this perfect quiet. And here comes this voice, Claudia, you've got to come back. You have a baby girl. She needs you. Well, in my head, my mind, I'm searching for words because I didn't have either really. But in my consciousness, I was arguing with them because I was like, no, my baby died. And, I don't want to go back to all of that. It was just awful. And she just kept calling for me to come back. And I decided that she wasn't going to stop until I answered her. And so I was pulling every resource in my consciousness to form a word to say, no, just leave me alone. I'm fine. I'm going to stay here. But as soon as I tried to speak back to this voice, I was back in my body. And, as I look at it now, I'm certainly glad I did. But at the time, I was kind of mad. It's kind of like, oh man, I was in this most wonderful place. And now I'm here in this pain and everything. And, just the noise of the place and all of the people talking and everything and the chaos. That was really hard to come back from such perfection now back into chaos. But I survived. My baby survived. And I'll remember now to tell you why I was in such peril was between the baby and the mother, there is an organ called the placenta. It helps regulate the baby. It feeds the baby. It's very important in pregnancy. And for some reason, the placenta, there was blood going into it, but it was not exiting. And so that's why I was so lightheaded and not feeling well, because there was so much blood storing in this little organ to help the baby. And when that got so big, it exploded. They called it living shrapnel. It was throughout my entire cavity. And so my baby drowned in my blood, but they were able to revive her. But I was in quite a bit of peril because I had no blood left, which is why I died. But they worked very hard, continuing to give me more and more blood until I came back. So I say free will is a very important thing. You might have heard, or your audience might have heard, that Earth is a tough place, right? I mean, we know it. We wake up every day. The rent's due. We're hungry. We've got to figure out a way to survive here. We have, besides ourselves, we choose to have families, or we see the misery of others on the streets that we pass by. It's such a burden, really, that it's like, why would we choose this burden? Why would we choose to be abused, or to go through all this starvation and hunger and not knowing where our next meal is coming from? That enough in that strife. But Earth was created as a place of learning, and I'm going to say testing, but it's not like a test. You know how there are a lot of religions that they want you to come and be as angelic and sinless as possible, so that we earn a way to go back to heaven, basically. That is not what I found. What I found when I went through the life review, there were screens all around me, and they were showing my life and my choices. And I could view everything as myself, but I also was viewing from the person next to me, or the person that I was talking to, or being mean to, or being kind to, and what they felt. I could feel everything they thought about me, or what I did, how that made them feel. And some of it was wonderful, and some of it was, I sure could have been a nicer person, or I could have made a better decision that wouldn't have hurt that person, or I could have given something to that person that I walked by that really needed help. Or you view all these little things that seem so insignificant. And what we do when we're in that life review, and all those screens of us doing our lives, but we have a chance to learn from every single thing that we did, big or especially the small stuff that we don't even think about. The person we smiled to one day that was thinking about killing themselves, and suddenly someone's being kind to them, and it changed their life. And you can actually see they call it the ripple effects of the fact that they lived, and they found love, and they created a family, and one of their children invented the vaccine, a COVID vaccine, or the cure for cancer or something, that if they had killed themselves, that wouldn't have happened. And I got to play a part in that positive ripple out there. So when you talk about the earth and why we're here, it's just a really wonderful proving ground of these lessons. And because it's so hard, we're kind of like rock stars here, right? This is a tough choice. There are many, as we know in the universe, many planets and stars. And what I found in my near-death experience was the universe is teeming with life. There are all kinds of other places that we can go and do a life on, but it won't be as intense as Earth. Earth has been created as one of the most intense learning, testing grounds. So we're rock stars here. We're doing it. If we can accomplish this and we go back and go, man, I did my best. It was really hard. And we're getting hoorays and claps from those who are looking at our experience. So I thank you for this opportunity to share.